the South Island of New Zealand. And so we've got all kinds of supporters and all colours of supporters here today as we await the start of the 28th Royal Back International. As Rob Andrew gets it going, Chris Gray makes the catch. And this crucial Calcutta Cup game is underway for the Grand Slam as Gavin Hastings, playing at standoff half, as he so often does, clears it up to near halfway. Now here we have a crucial area of the game today, because a year ago at Twickenham, the English lock forward simply outplayed Scotland at the line-out. That's the loose one. Down goes Finlay Calder, feeding out there. Taken by Lenine. Nicely out to Chalmers. Loud blast for offside. Penalty to Scotland on halfway. And somebody may have made a stupid remark, because it's brought the kick within distance of the goalpost. And David Bishop is telling Rob Andrew, I don't think, was the guilty person.
No, I think it was Mick Skinner that questioned the decision there. That obviously that's the ideal start that Scotland wanted, that they picked up a loose ball, very unlike England this year, would have been so tidy at the line-outs. There we see that Finlay Calder picked up a loose ball, and immediately Sean Lenine ran straight at his opposition. And obviously a silly decision there by Mickey Skinner to question the referee's decision and be conceded another 10 yards.
Well, it's certainly given Scotland the chance of a kick at goal, and they've appointed Craig Chalmers to take it. And there's the kind of crosswind he's got to deal with. It's a boisterous wind, as you can see, and it's a treacherous wind, because it blows across and then hits the stand and swirls back again. So it's a real problem for the goal kickers today. But Craig Chalmers here has 248 points this season, so he's got this for his 250. The pitch in great condition, so they shouldn't have any trouble in holding the non-kicking foot in place. But you can see, because of the wind, a placer. Gavin Hastings holding the ball for Craig Chalmers. Chalmers then, it's certainly high enough. Is it straight enough? It's wide of the right-hand post. It was a well-struck kick, but just a little bit wide. And of course you have the feeling that you really need to put those over in a tense match like this. Rob Andrew. Very well flighted. Cronin went up for it initially. Winterbottom drives. Skinner tries to pull a body out of the way. And in there went Winterbottom again. Teague tries to charge, but the Scots stopped them there. It was Cronin who went in and stopped that charge up the side. England given the put in on their own 10 metres line. Now here also a very important area for both sides. The English tight five, very experienced, but the Scots tight five have come on a lot in ball winning in the last couple of internationals, and they managed to swirl England round there, but it went round too far. 90 degrees only allowed. And it is a very interesting point at these scrummages today that David Bishop is a New Zealand referee, and in New Zealand they've been very tight indeed on anything that might cause the scrummage to collapse. They're even considering not allowing one scrummage to push the other more than 1.5 meters. And so those fellas will have to watch and keep it up, because if there are any collapsed scrummages, he could be very strict indeed on them. Scotland with a psychological drive on there, taken from Armstrong to Calder. Calder drives in, and the Scots already taking the play to England. What a surge that was. Armstrong, but it's a penalty for being offside over the top.
Well, it's been a very impressive start by the Scots forwards, because they've taken the game to England. There's been a lot of question marks about the mobility of the English front five especially, and this is the great strength of the Scotland side. They don't let you settle, they harass you all the time, and Finlay Calder and young Armstrong did that superbly well there.
I should imagine too, Bill, that Scotland will go for a lot of those quick tap penalties just to loosen up play and not let the big English forwards stay close together.
Yes, through two contrasts here we see it there, that driving in, but just look at the angles of the Scottish forward. The English forwards are upright, yet Scotland are low, driving everybody in there, and the penalty comes about when an English forward.
Craig Chalmers then, away out there on the right. He's pulled it, there's a loud roar from the east stand. It wasn't his best kick of all time because it bobbled and weaved, but it's given Scotland a 3-0 lead. They've played about 4 minutes. Well, what a start for the youngster. He's kicked so well for Melrose this season in the Division 1 Championship. 250 points for Craig Chalmers. Yes, Rob Andrew with the kick-off, and it was nudged forward, and Scotland have the put in. England, of course, with their two great Wasps prop forwards, Paul Rendell and Jeff Probyn. Scots picking up and driving. Chris Gray takes it on. Almost up to halfway. Armstrong. Gavin Hastings. That's a high ball. In comes Hodgkinson, but he's left it to Underwood. And Underwood tackled there by Lenine. Jeffries there as well. Les Beard's flag goes up, and it'll be a throw into the Scots. And they've made a tremendous start, Bill.
Very impressive start indeed. They've taken the game to England, and that's the only way that they're going to win it this afternoon, by driving at them. And certainly, you see Derek White there pick the ball up quickly from the line out, and from the scrum, sorry, and he just managed to keep driving at the English back line.
And the Scots switching their line out. They had Damien Cronin, who's usually number 4, right at the tail there, and Finlay called her up near the front. And so that's another area in which the Scots will try and switch positions to upset England's normal routine, not to let the English forwards settle to what has been so successful for them during this championship. England 22. Good strike by Mill. Armstrong, Chalmers, missed out everybody to Scott Hastings, on to Derek White. Stanger was there. Stanger half caught by Andrew. Taken by Cronin. Cronin helped by Gray, just short of England's 22. Armstrong, Chalmers dummies half through. Chalmers onto Lenine. Lenine just losing possession. Well, great support work by the Scots here, and they were a bit unlucky that Lenine just lost the ball, and Will Carling did the saving work for England. But no advantage had accrued, and so England get the put in. It was another bit of lovely running by Chalmers, and look how Lenine changed the angle of his run. Almost got through, but a good tackle knocked it away. And already a bit of niggle there up the side of that scrimmage. The touch judge, Derek Bevan's flag is pushed out, and so it's going to be a question of touch judge foul play. David Scholl may have had a lick there. Just watch here as the drive went in. Oh, it was a pretty rough bit of footwork there, without a doubt, and this might be another penalty to Scotland. Yes, Jeff Probyn has been ticked off. Obviously, he was guilty of dangerous footwork there.
Well, I think what had happened there, that the scrum had collapsed, and Jeff Probyn felt that David Scholl had taken it down, and obviously took the law into his own hand, but no hesitation at all by the referee to give him a final warning, because obviously, you know, that cannot be condoned on the field.
Well, Jeff Probyn, who's one of the most powerful scrummagers in the business and causes a lot of trouble to loose heads up and down the country, but that time giving away a penalty chance to the Scots, because that's the placement there. And once again, it's Craig Chalmers. He's taken over the goal-kicking mantle, because Gavin Hastings had a bit of bother with his goal-kicking earlier on, And Craig Chalmers now with 34 points for Scotland. As I say, he also took over the goal-kicking role for Melrose, who've won the Border League and the Division 1 Championship. Craig Chalmers then. Last little look. The flags are up again. And Craig Chalmers' second penalty goal brings him to 254 points. 6-0 Scotland lead, 10 minutes gone.
Great start by Scotland, but I think what England want to do now is just settle themselves down and win a bit of possession. They haven't thrown into the line out, they haven't really had many put into the scrum, and what they want to do is just win a bit of ball and play the rugby down in the Scottish half and just get a pattern of play at the moment, which they haven't been able to do.
Well, the whole ground is absolutely buzzing, as you can feel, I'm sure, sitting in your armchairs. I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. Conditions still very good, except for that bustling wind. Rob Andrew taking it a bit far, meaning to get the win. A bit of hesitation there on the part of the Scots, and they've lost a ball they really should have won. England have a good ball here to Hill, to Andrew. Andrew high and across. Armstrong back there. Well, Gary Armstrong had no angle for his kick there, and so England are within 10 metres of the Scottish line, but it was a very good bit of covering by the scrum half. There he is, number 9, his 11th cap today. But a great attacking position here for England. Mike Teague is just in behind Dooley. Dooley was the man who got up for it. Hill to Andrew, missed out everybody to Guscott. The chip through, across goes Tukalo. Hodgkinson was there. Hodgkinson, his feet were in touch. But it was a lovely little kick, and there was all kinds of danger for Ivan Tukalo, because Simon Hodgkinson was up in the line, and so indeed was Rory Underwood. The England wings tend to appear like demented prairie dogs all over the paddock, and they did there, with Rory Underwood over on the right. Cronin takes the catch, but a penalty for a bit of line-out, shoving or interference. And it really is heated there. Peter Winterbottom, the last man off the floor. But it was a great catch by Cronin, so vital for the Scots, so near their own goal line. There was that awkward chip kick, and you could see Ivan Tukalo was beaten by the bounce. If Rory Underwood had caught that one, he was home. Meanwhile, Gavin Hastings has cleared it with the penalty for the Scots. There he is, the fellow who's taken London Scottish from the 3rd to the 2nd division in the Courage Leagues this season.
I think England feel that there's a slight weakness if the ball is pumped high to the Scottish wingers, and this is something that they've been talking about and trying to put into practice.
Ackford got up to it. The big fella, the big policeman who's made such advance over the last 18 months. There he is. Took 9 years from his first B international to get a full cap, but he has come on in the last 18 months or so. So David Bishop taking a very firm grip. I think he realises that the passion's pretty high out there. And there you notice Jeff Probyn has got a hold of Sol's elbow and trying to ease him down into an uncomfortable position. Teague holding it in for England on halfway. Teague picks and goes. Tackled by Calder. Hill. Lovely break. Carling is away. There's a marvellous overlap here. Out to Guscott. Guscott has dummied and is going, and Guscott has scored. That is a magnificent English try. Jeremy Guscott's 7th try for England in just 6 internationals, and it was a beauty. A mixture of forward drive and widespread. Just watch it. There was the drive by Teague. He laid the ball back beautifully. And then here, Hill going to the right, gave Carling a lovely run. Carling desperately quick. Now watch how Guscott dummied Gavin Hastings and had the pace to get there out of Armstrong's tackle. It was a super try.
Really, the inroad's been made by Mike Teague, and Scott Hastings came up to try and take the crash ball off Will Carling, but once Carling got outside him, he was over here, and a superb silky run there by Guscott shows what a talented footballer this side. No chance there for Gavin Hastings. He had a 2-1, and really that good play by Guscott. And really that's the kind of response that England needed, because they were looking very harassed for the first quarter of an hour of the game.
And believe it or not, that's the first English try at Murrayfield for 10 years. John Carlton scored the last one when Bill Beaumont's team won the Grand Slam in 1980. Simon Hodgkinson. Hodgkinson, a little stab, it's hung up in the breeze, and it was a lovely kick, and on a normally still day it would have been over. But a very good riposte by England. 6 points to 4, Scotland lead. They played 15 minutes. And this is going to be a real birler of a game, I tell you. Chalmers going long. So Craig Chalmers today in his 9th international match. Meteoric rise to Scottish fame just 18 months or so ago. And so there's the territorial advantage and possession. Scotland with the slight help there. Nothing much in it. Andrew making sure his pals are onside. Good catch by Jeffrey. Was actually caught first by Ackford, and Ackford did cleverly try and turn him so that England could win the ball. John Jeffrey, of course, at 6'4" for a flanker, and with a tremendous standing jump, is ideal for that kind of kick-off work. Yes, David Bishop in there telling Jeff Probyn to keep the front row up. Milne with a good heel. Chalmers. That's the crossfield. Gary Owen again. Hodgkinson with a lovely catch. Bumped into Teague in front of him. Referee deciding it wasn't an accidental offside, and they'll take the line out. But Hodgkinson has lost his slipper. They look like slippers the backs play with nowadays, I tell you. But what a season he's had in internationals. Inside England's 22, the long one. Rob Andrew. Andrew, a very good kick. Oh, a lovely kick on the run. That's Rob Andrew, who captained England against the Romanians, of course, in May in Bucharest when they won 58-3.
I'm amazed how many different variations the Scots have in the line-out. They throw to Derek White at the front, John Jeffrey at the front, Cronin at the back. Very difficult to mark.
And the whole idea to upset England's normal line-out routine, which has been so effective. Now, if you see Mike Teague has just moved over one place, so there may be a special move on here. Teague, yes, Teague picks and goes. Jeffrey was a bit late in getting up. Great tackle there by Gary Armstrong. Pick up by Hill. And there goes Ackford. Dooley's with him. England beginning to put the bits and pieces together. But the ball had gone down. England's put in because they were driving forward. And the Scots were really badly caught out at that scrummage there. If you just watch, when Teague picked up, John Jeffrey was a bit slow away, and it was Derek White who had to chase him, but Gary Armstrong with the tackle. Teague again, on to Ackford, Ackford to Hill. Hill, thumped down there by Finlay Calder. 10-12 metres outside Scotland's 22. And there's Michael Skinner, who sometimes looks like a moving thatched cottage with his hairstyle, but he's a very handy citizen to have. Over 6 feet, 16 stones, and a flank forward. Plays for the Harlequins.
I just get the feeling that the English scrum is looking a little bit more comfortable now that Jeff Probyn has sorted out his angles against David Soul. And I just feel that with Mike Teague and Richard Hill breaking, that they've got an ideal platform here again to launch the back row move.
That time Hill going on the wide run, chased by Jeffrey. Kick on by Finlay Calder. Oh, the anguish on the Stuarts Melville former pupil's face there. Finlay Calder, who captained the British Lions to their great success in Australia during the summer. And that bounce beat him. Just watch Hill hissue very quickly into his running, but half caught there by Jeffrey, slightly high tackle. The ball went loose and then Finlay Calder was in the clear, but it was a bad bounce for him. Scottish 10 metres line. David Bishop insisting on the spaces. Paul Burnell is away back there at number 5 in the line, but it was Dooley who took it. Great jump by the big policeman. Teague trying to rip it clear and has managed it. Now it's Winterbottom. Hill. Andrew looking for touch at the corner, but got it a bit too square. But it's a penalty against the Scots.
Yes, the penalties for offside there, I think, against Scott Hastings and Sean Lineen, and good refereeing there by David Bishop, because he gave England the advantage, and obviously once Rob Andrew kicked it into the dead ball line, he's quite within his rights to give England the penalty.
And so it's a great chance for England to take the lead, although they're going to go for a short one, and I tell you, that is a surprise, because as you can see, it's eminently kickable. But psychologically, a strong blow as Moore goes to Andrew, to Teague. Teague, well tackled there by Burnell. Now it's Hill once again. That's being pulled back by the breeze. Still an awkward ball taken by Teague. Interception by Lineen. Taken by Winterbottom. Hill, Andrew on there to Skinner. Skinner to Halliday. And Halliday to Hodgkinson, but the ball hit the line, and of course the line is in touch, so outside the 22 he put it direct into touch and lost the territorial advantage.
Actually, I think with England running that short penalty, we see the play here, Richard Hill switching it quite cleverly. Rob Andrew, for the first time in the match, has really taken them on here, and good interpassing here, leading to the kick by Hodgkinson.
England cleaned up pretty well at the line out, and the Scots, yes, they're going over and preventing release. So now what's Will Carling going to ask his English side to do here? It's Kenny Milne who made that lovely tackle and that move by Rob Andrew, and it's Rob Andrew going for touch. Oh, that's a beauty. That's a superb kick with his right foot to the right touchline. I mean, normally a left-footer would spin it in, but that was one of the best kicks he's ever put in, and I think he'll be very pleased with that one when he sees it on telly tomorrow. There's Paul Rendell, standing number 3, one of the great support players, played for Slough for 5 seasons before joining Wasps. Scotland in trouble as Dooley goes charging through, all 6 feet 8 of him. And the grandstand there absolutely riveted. Everybody is here. That's the Scottish goal line. Gavin Hastings, you'll notice, up in a very strong defensive position there. The pick up by Hill. Hill out to Halliday, into Skinner. But another tremendous tackle by Finlay Calder. Calder has put in several superb tackles for the Scots. Just watch it here. England got a very good shove on. They won a ricochet ball. Hill fed out to Halliday, who's a big laddie, and there was Skinner, and that was Calder's tackle. But England still within 3 metres. Chris Gray got hands to it, thrown in, charges. The referee's whistle has gone, but it went forward, and England get the scrummage.
And also worrying from Scotland's point of view at this scrum that Derek White is off the field at the moment, getting some treatment, so it's going to be 8 English forwards against the 7 Scots, so no doubt they'll be looking to go for a pushover.
Derek White's just coming back in again, but Richard Hill very cleverly got the ball in quickly. That's Teague. Hill going in as well. But the referee's whistle had gone. It's a penalty for offside, I think. And England have opted for the scrummage. Now there's an interesting development. They could have taken the penalty, but they've gone for the scrummage. They feel that their scrummage is getting stronger and gaining an advantage. And of course they've only 5 metres to go. Teague has half drifted across, but he's been pulled over. I think the ball really was out of the scrummage there. Once Teague was on the floor, the scrummage, it seemed to me, was over, and therefore Scotland were entitled to play it. But it's still all kind of panic stations for the Scots. You notice here that Teague was unfortunate, but at that instance I would have said the scrummage was over. Loud blast for going down, but no penalty. The referee not sure who was responsible. Derek White has moved over one place, and Finlay Calder has gone to number 8 in the Scottish scrummage. Now that's an interesting development, maybe to Derek White to take the first tackle as Teague comes round. But it's a change in the Scottish scrum. There Finlay Calder got up there, but the Scots have been penalised for pulling the scrummage down. And the Scots are bringing all kind of changes in their set-piece play.
I think actually Scotland were pretty lucky there just to get away with a penalty, because I think on a couple of occasions it could well have been a penalty try, because they certainly collapsed the scrum when England were driving them back.
And so as Richard Hill gets ready to take this tap penalty, we think that the Scottish replacement is warming up. There's Hill giving, there's the cavalry charge. Paul Rendell. And still a penalty to England. Scotland maybe came over the goal line too early. The goal line is now the offside line, and they can't move until the ball has been tapped. Here they come out now. Rendell turns. They're trying to drive it over, but the Scots managed to stop that one. You remember the Scots had all kinds of trouble like this for a spell against the Welsh at Cardiff, but managed to hold out because they were against a lighter pack, and a pack that wasn't tremendously powerful in scrummaging. But here, of course, they're against a heavier English pack, and so there are all kinds of problems for them. But they got a bit of a shove on there, and Craig Chalmers has pushed it clear. Up come Lenine and Scott Hastings and Calder. Hodgkinson hoists it. Gary Armstrong. Oh, and he just hardly got it away. It was played, caught by Moore on the 22. And of course the ball had been played, and so Scotland get the put in. Well, they've played 29 minutes of the match so far. Scotland leading 6 points to 4. Everything to play for, and Derek White is leaving the field. He did get a smack, you remember, when Finlay Calder went in on the tackle. And here is Derek Turnbull of Hoyt, who's coming on for his 4th cap. Remember, he got his first cap against the All Blacks in New Zealand during the World Cup. And it's a question that Turnbull will now play as the flank forward, and John Jeffrey has gone to number 8. Armstrong to Chalmers. He's hooked it with his left foot. Simon Halliday takes it. As I say, he's a big, powerful lad in there to Dooley, short of Scotland's 22. And David Bishop is making absolutely sure that those mauls don't go on for long. Derek Turnbull, who's captain of Hoyt this season, seen them through a very difficult spell in the National Leagues. But you'll remember here at Murrayfield against France in '88, he had one of the great flank forward matches. And of course he played against England here in '88 as well. 3 caps, New Zealand, France and England. You can't get them tougher than that. Hill round on Armstrong. Loud blast, going over and killing it. Penalty to the Scots. And the sun has broken through again. And it's a great scene here, a right royal occasion, as I say. And those two great sides who played the first international way back in 1871, locked in such combat. Gavin Hastings found his touch on halfway. Gavin Hastings, good and safe. He was so safe with his touch kicks against Wales as well.
Yes, this big England front five have suddenly started to dominate proceedings, and I think with the wind behind them in the second half, then certainly we'll be looking at a different game than what we've seen so far.
Through goes Winterbottom, taken by Calder. Back pass to Lineen. This is Scott Hastings. But the ball had been knocked forward, and Scotland got no advantage from it. Here's big Scott Hastings, who today is playing in his 23rd international match. Captain of Watsonians this season. Amazing how he keeps his form for the big stuff, playing in the second division with Watsonians, but he's done it. Jeffrey takes. So the Scots driving forward, and they get the put in. And of course, with the squad system such as it is, Derek Turnbull can drift quite comfortably in there to his optimum position now, a flanker. John Jeffrey feeding out to Gary Armstrong. Richard Hill very quick indeed to anticipate that. And John Jeffrey, of course, has played number 8 for Kelso throughout most of this season, although, of course, at the top level he's played most of his rugby as a flanker. It's Richard Hill of Bath, who, of course, is playing against his Bath colleague today. And Scotland again taking the quick one. David Scholl out to Finlay Calder. Looks a good ball for the Scots. Armstrong to Chalmers. Chalmers didn't realise that Lineen had come inside him. Turnbull has it. 10 metres outside England's 22. Scotland again with the put in. So they've got about 8 minutes to go to half-time. Just 2 points in it. Pick up by Jeffrey, out to Armstrong. Chance here as Gavin Hastings goes. Hastings handing off. Almost got away from Underwood, but Rory Underwood managed to push him into touch. But it was a very good move because Lineen came the other way as the decoy runner, and Gavin Hastings came up on the narrow side.
It's also a very good play by John Jeffrey and Gary Armstrong to give him that space by, especially Jeffrey, could he pick the ball up quickly and got outside Mick Skinner on the blind side.
Of course, the Scots have lost Derek White, who's done such great pick-up work as a number 8 this season and last. But John Jeffrey is accustomed to the job. Quickly taken by Finlay Calder. The Scots have taken a leaf out of the Neath book with those very quick tap penalties. This is Turnbull. Hill, chance here. But Andrew decided to kick it away. And we hear that the damage for Derek White is knee ligament damage. And I suppose, in a way, it's a good thing that it's near the end of the season and he'll have a chance to recover. There's Rob Andrew, got that clearance away up to the England 10 metres line. Ken Milne did well to rescue there. Jeffrey here, there and everywhere. John Jeffrey there, the most capped member of this Scottish side with 28, and of course now the most capped player ever out of the Kelso club. With the line-outs in, England have won 6 to Scotland's 4. Moore's throw, Cronin, Armstrong, Chalmers. Chalmers all the way out to Hastings, but the referee's whistle had gone. Scott Hastings with a real chance there. and dying to have a go at Jeremy Guscott. They were both pals on the Lions tour. And it's Paul Ackford who's been cautioned there by the referee. Must have been a bit of rough work at the line out. Scott Hastings, you can see there, so keyed up, and he was so disappointed because he wanted to play advantage there. But of course it does give Scotland the chance of 3 points, but I think Scott Hastings fancied himself for 4 and maybe a conversion as well. Well, there's the distance for Craig Chalmers. Two penalty goals so far, one missed. 2 out of 3 is not a bad strike rate. That's how successful he's been so far. But this one could be a very important kick, because just before half-time the Scots will feel that they need a bigger lead than just 2 points. Gavin Hastings the placer. Chalmers then. Oh, he's done it once more. I mean, it looked so inebriated as it went over. You would have thought it would have keeled over, but he's done it. 3 penalty goals for Craig Chalmers. Scotland 9-4 ahead. They've played 36 minutes and the crowd are delighted.
It's a bit like one of my golf shots there. It looked as though he topped it actually, but it certainly was over with plenty to spare.
Yes, you're not alone, William, either with golf shots, I tell you. So there's a bit of singing I hear in the background there from parts of the crowd. Maybe the Flower of Scotland getting another rendering. But a long way to go, and England still looking formidable. Rob Andrew. And then Kip Turnbull. Nice out to Gavin Hastings from Jeffrey. And Hastings, Gavin, the older of the two, always looks the coolest fellow in the field. And the one who doesn't seem to get upset about anything. There he is, he scored 35 points in 3 games against England. Do with a shave as well, by the look of it. Halfway. Peter Winterbottom and Finlay Calder at the tail. Hill, Andrew. This is Carling on there to Winterbottom. Guscott. Held by Scott Hastings, so is Halliday. 2 great tackles there by Scott Hastings in midfield. Winterbottom from Hill. There's a chance here, but the pass went forward, and Rory Underwood, the left wing, is away over here on the right. And that's the kind of play, I think, that has been making England's back play so dangerous this season. The fact, Bill, that their wingers appear anywhere.
That's right, and Rory Underwood, he drifts in and out of the game, but also I see the touch judge, Les Beard, has got his flag up on the far side of the field. I would think it's probably for a late tackle on Rob Andrew.
Gary Armstrong has kicked and found a good touch, but David Bishop, the referee, hasn't seen the touch judge. His attention is being drawn to it now by Rob Andrew. It's Les Beard actually away over on that far side. There's the big fella who's done 1 cap international. That was Ireland versus England in '89, and also did the match that Scotland played in Japan again, against Japan in Tokyo. There's a Welshman telling a New Zealander what's happening. I hope they understand each other. Well, there's Gary Armstrong bustling about and bussing his forwards about. And Will Carling, I think, has been told that there is it's a penalty to England. And Chris Gray has just had a little word from the referee. Don't do it again, big fella, he's saying. That's the big lock from Nottingham. Captain of Nottingham this season. There are his statistics, his 10th cap. Well, now, let's see what England have in store here. Almost up to half-time. But Rob Andrew is going, I think, for touch at the corner. England quite happy to have what they hold until half-time. So we've just under a minute to go to half-time. 9 points to 4, Scotland lead England. That's it, 5 points of difference. everything to play for. And another 40-odd minutes to go. Gary Armstrong decided that Gavin Hastings would have been knocked down there, decided not to pass to him. The referee's whistle has gone for half-time, and that has been a thoroughly thrilling half, at the end of which Scotland lead by 9 points to 4, but England have the satisfaction of having scored the one try in that half, and it certainly was a superb score, on a par with anything that England have scored this season so far. But it's nicely balanced, Bill, but as you say, England with the meteorological help in the second half.
Yes, they've got the strong wind behind him, and I feel that the next score will be the crucial one. Whoever gets the next score, I think, will probably win the match, and certainly very impressed by the England front five, but the commitment of the Scots.
This is a message about coronavirus.
Because coronavirus is highly infectious, it spreads quickly. Say one person catches it, and they infect 3 others, and they infect 3 more. It soon adds up. But when people stay at home, it makes a massive difference to the spread, to the pressure on our NHS, and to the number of lives saved. To save lives, let's work together and stay apart. Stay at home, protect Scotland's NHS, and save lives.
So I'm no longer playing for the Scottish national side, but thanks to BT and Scottish Rugby, I'm able to virtually rejoin Scotland national session during the Guinness Six Nations.
Let's start with some basic attacking play.
Oh, that's weird. It's good that I don't like heights, right?
Expect Hugh Jones to throw in a switch.
Henry, get across here.
Oh, that is weird.
Don't shut it off, John.
That's very lifelike. It's a little bit unnerving to start with, and actually understanding you can look around and stuff, but it's a very, very unusual experience, but really fascinating to be part of that.
This is an important update about coronavirus.
We want to remind you that to save lives, it's vital we all continue to stay at home. Feeling bored and frustrated is natural, and as the days go by, you might be tempted to take more chances, like going out for food more often or popping in to see friends or family. Don't. You can pass the virus on to others even if you don't have any symptoms. Please continue to stay at home, protect the NHS and save lives. For more information, go to nhsinform.scot/coronavirus.
This is the 106th game between Scotland and England. England have won 50, Scotland 38. There have been 17 draws. And at Murrayfield, Scotland have won 17-10. Scots aware that away back in 1925, they beat England here to win the Grand Slam in the very first match at Murrayfield. The second half gets underway. Gavin Hastings getting it started. And the ball must have hit the line because it's a scrum back at the middle. Hastings just hoping that it had bounced in play and then out, but the English forwards had it judged very well. They left it and they were right.
Certainly not the start that Scotland would have wanted here. Basic error that, really, that you can't afford to put the ball straight out on the full.
Scotland with the put in. Referee deciding, I think, that there was a slight knock forward as they went for the pickup. And that's quite an advantage to the Scots, because that looked like quite a useful ball for England. Pick up by Jeffrey. Jeffrey to Armstrong. Armstrong nicely out to Gavin Hastings. Gavin Hastings who's the kick through. On goes Stanger. Stanger could be there. First, it's a try! A magnificent try for the 21-year-old. His first try in a championship match, but his sixth try for Scotland in his sixth international. And, well, the euphoria around the ground is something else. 13 points to 4, the Scots lead. It was a brilliant bit of play by Gavin Hastings, but first John Jeffrey released Gary Armstrong. Armstrong's pass was beautifully taken by Hastings, and then look at how Stanger accelerated. Rory Underwood was there, but Stanger's a big lad. He got it and he touched it down, and it was a fine score. And so the whole of Murrayfield is on its feet virtually. Tremendous ovation for Stanger going down, and here it is again.
Well, Gary Armstrong made the half break, but he noticed here that Hastings hangs onto the ball long enough, so he commits Hodgkinson, and once Underwood had to turn. But this is a good take by Stanger, because he's fully sprinting there, and to take it high above his head. Great play by the winger.
Craig Chalmers with the conversion. Hooked a bit, but that certainly gives the Scots a cushion. Of course, Tony Stanger is 6'2", and that enabled him to reach up for that very high ball. He's played centre most of this season for Hoy, and I tell you, they will be celebrating down at Mansfield Park in my hometown after that great try. One try apiece. Rob Andrew kicks long. Chalmers lets it go. And Rob Andrew, who's done some marvellous scoring, of course, for England over the years. Remember his 18 points in his very first international against the Romanians in '85. 21 in a one game against Wales, which England won. Now, very much the complete standoff half. Chalmers high. Scots have won it. Cronin's trying to smuggle it. And they're going forward. And of course the Scots' whole idea is to stop England from producing the kind of intermix between backs and forwards that has been such a feature of their championship performances. Chalmers, that's very high and very long. Hodgkinson beautifully taken and well tackled by Tuchel. But it was a lovely bit of play by the English fullback. I mean, so many people have spoken about putting pressure on him with those high kicks, and he had a lot of time there, but his technique was splendid.
But also it was a good kick by Chalmers, and from a Scotland point of view, it meant that Hodgkin had to put the ball out to enable Scotland to throw into the line-out.
Bit of shoving through at the line-out by the Scots, bit of obstruction. Penalty to England. There's Gary Armstrong, who's tackled so well so far. Rob Andrew pushes England up towards Scotland's 22. It's Rob Andrew of the Wasps. He was born in Richmond in Yorkshire, lovely town on a hill, I remember, and went to Barnard Castle School, as did Rory Underwood. Cronin up, offside, and it may have been a bit of levering as well. Wade Dooley had managed to get through all right onto Scotland's tap. So much goes on at the line-out that, you know, they're all at it. And it's the most difficult area for a referee to officiate. Gavin Hastings keeping it low. And every touch kick by the Scots now is being clapped furiously by the crowd. They are the young schoolboys in this great feature at Murrayfield, the schoolboys enclosure, where they're safe from the great mobs of people there. Dooley got hands to it, Skinner tied it in. Winterbottom worked it clear. Soul put it down, a lovely bit of robbing by Ken Milne. Chalmers, Lenine to Scott Hastings.
Slight bit of over-elaboration there by the Scots. It might have been a lot better if they'd just done the easy thing and passed the ball down the line to Stanger, because certainly looks a dangerous lad when he gets the ball in his hand.
And at the scrummage, Gavin Hastings has moved right away down onto his own 22. He anticipates a big kick clearance, and he's miles away down the field. The Scots' backs, of course, are all lined up flat. They're flat with the rear feet of the scrummage. But there's Gavin Hastings. He's just patrolling his own 22, trying to anticipate. But the Scots have taken one against the head, but it's a penalty against them. David Soul asking what that was for, and I personally didn't see. It looked like a strike against the head for the Scots. Andrew. It was a lovely kick. And Gary Armstrong really could do nothing with it. And so Rob Andrew doing everything he can with his boot to inspire this England side. A rueful smile from Gary Armstrong saying, I didn't think I was in touch.
So notice at this line-out that England have moved Wade Dooley to the back of the line-out, so it could well be another ploy.
Scottish 22, and that was what it was meant for Dooley. Hill threw it out. Calder out to Lenine, and that really was a bit of nervy play by the Scots. A rare opportunity to have broken out there, and a loud blast for an injury there to one of the Englishmen. Sean Lenine really was, he meant to adjust the weight of the pass, I think, and in doing so lost control of the ball. So we'll identify the injured Englishman as soon as we can. Kevin Murphy attending to him. There was a loud blast from David Bishop, as if he was a bit concerned. It may be Wade Dooley, we're not sure. Certainly Paul Ackford is up and all right. So we can maybe have another look at that. Here's the situation here. Down went Chris Gray for the Scots. And it was in there that, yes, Wade Dooley must have got a bang as he went down. He was down on both knees, and he got a bang then.
Certainly a very sad moment for Wade, especially when he's getting a record number of caps today for a second row forward. It's very sad indeed for him to go off the field, because certainly he's had an outstanding season for England and been dominant in the lineouts in not perhaps this game, but certainly in the three previous internationals this season.
And of course, as Bill Beaumont says, Wade Dooley today equals Bill Beaumont's own record for an English lock forward of 34 international appearances. So it's sad indeed to see this big policeman who played a bit for your own club Fylde, I think, Bill, before going back to Preston.
That's right, yes, he certainly did. He had a couple of seasons with us. He teamed up with Steve Bainbridge in the second row, and they were very effective indeed. And certainly a sad moment for himself that, from an England point of view, I think it'd be vital that he stays on, because obviously he can only stay on if he's fit, but he's such an integral part of the pack.
And so David Edgerton is getting ready to come on the field. He's normally a breakaway forward, but Wade Dooley there looks as if he may have been concussed. He doesn't want to go off. He'd like to stay on. This, after all, is his record-equalling appearance, and he's going to stay.
Well, that's great from an England point of view. I just hope that he is fit enough, and but certainly that will give the lads a real fillip, that, to see him staying on the field.
Pick up by Teague again. Mike Teague, who has played, this is what is his fifth game as a number 8 for England. He's played 6 as a flanker, and I think probably blindside flanker is his best position. But he didn't have a really good ball to pick up there. Gary Armstrong has gone wide, and that's why John Jeffrey feeding him and Armstrong clearing. So Gary Armstrong, this is his 11th international match, and he actually played for Scotland B before he played for the south of Scotland, which was unusual in a way. And so Scotland's still behind at the line-outs, 9-1 by England, 6 by the Scots. Wade Dooley opposite Cronin at number 4, but it went to Ackford. Moore fed it on to Hill. And that wasn't the kind of ball Hill would want, Bill.
Not really, but good play by Kenny Milne there, certainly coming round the front of the line, and certainly we're seeing the 2 best hookers in the British Isles at the moment, and these 2 will go on a line store. That Milne has had a very good season for Scotland.
So John Jeffrey has come up to number 2 at the line-out, and Damien Cronin, normally 4, is away back there, second from the end. Ackford gathers in, he's held by Chris Gray, that's halfway. Scotland given the put-in, and certainly the Scots scrummage, which creaked early on, has settled down and is holding its own pretty well. Being turned a little bit there. Armstrong, it's a crafty kick, it's piddling about in the air, up went Carling, but an offside decision, and England go for the penalty rather than the scrummage. In front of the kicker, the Scots. Andrew. Oh, that is the kick of the season. It was a marvellous kick, right from his own 10 metres line, and it's faded into touch a metre from that corner flag. The English forwards must be looking back at Rob Andrew and saying, thank you very much, fella. There is how tight they are to Scotland's goal line. Ken Milne realises this is a vital throw. Damien Cronin there. Milne holding it back. Remember, this was the position from which Scotland scored their winning try when they won the Grand Slam in 1984, when they beat the Frenchmen with Jim Calder's try. This time, it's the Scots who are up against it. Well, Ken Milne got down, and John Jeffrey got down, and Derek Turnbull got down, and Tony Stanger got knocked down. And so, England with the put-in, and they've a great opportunity here. There are so many options open to them, even though they've a very narrow blind side. But the Scots squeezed. Hill, the long pass out to Carling. Carling rumbled back by the Scots. The Scottish forward there, Gary Armstrong, and what a superb bit of play that was. The Scots really deserve credit for clearing that one.
And you can see how that's lifted the Scottish forwards there, because you don't get any change out of running at Scott Hastings and Sean Leneen down the middle, because they will tackle you all day and all night. And but good play again by the back row, picking the loose ball up.
With Jeff Probyn at the front there, one of the two Wasps prop forwards in this England side. Two veterans, 33-year-old Probyn. Moore throws, Dooley gets it, Hill nicely out to Andrew, along to Carling. Underwood came in, but the dummy run by Carling. He's tackled by Turnbull, feeds on to Rendell. That's a Scottish 22. Loud blast for an arm going over and killing the ball. A penalty to England, almost in front of the Scottish post. And their last man up, number 1, is Paul Anthony George Rendell. No less, the judge, as he's called, on the players' coach during the tour, and they tell me that he's an absolute beast as a judge.
I can vouch for that as well, Bill.
And so the Scots have their little chat there, just to discuss what was going wrong and what must go right. It was a lovely run by Carling. You see, Rory Underwood had come in on the dummy run, and Carling cut back, and he beat 3 tackles until Derek Turnbull got him. And it said a lot for Paul Rendell that he was at his elbow. So the man who's been potting goals for England all season, Simon Hodgkinson, 74 points in 5 internationals so far. Hodgkinson then. Oh, it looks good. It's a beauty, and that's a very important goal for England. 13 points to 6, the Scots lead. They've played 13 points to 7, the Scots lead. They've played 15 minutes of the second half, and Simon Hodgkinson has brought them back into the match. So there it is. 6 points of difference, and they've about 25 minutes to go. Well, there are all kinds of fellas from the colonies and everywhere else here today. Gavin Hastings kicked it a bit far, thought the wind would hold it, and it was fed back there from Moore, and Rob Andrew kicks very high. Gavin Hastings, he's returned it, a huge one. Hodgkinson waits. Well, he was outside his 22, but it was played, and Tukalo is in trouble. But he's managed to get away to Armstrong, to Chalmers, Chalmers to Stanger. Stanger picked up by Lenine. England have won a useful ball to Hill. Hill saw the space behind the Scottish back, and it's another lovely kick. Back goes Scott Hastings, taken by Stanger, tackled by Underwood.
Very good play by Richard Hill, because he saw that he got a very static ball. The Scottish defence was up tight, and he put a superb little chip over the top there. And I think these are the tactics that England must pursue. Get the ball down into the Scottish 22, win set piece, and then run it wide.
England once more breathing on Scotland's goal line. Chris Gray at 2, opposite Paul Ackford. But it was meant for the middle to Dooley. Through goes Winterbottom. But was it somebody? It seemed to be a push away. A kind of uppercut push from the David Bishop's indication. But it's certainly a penalty to the Scots. Peter Winterbottom, who's the senior of the English players on the field today, first capped against Australia in '82. Gavin Hastings. Yes, he realised how important it was to find his touch, and he's found a good one. I must say, Bill, the kicking for touch today in the wind has generally been very sound.
Very good indeed, and we've seen Rob Andrew put a few crackers in, and the essential thing is that you must make the touch. Doesn't matter how far it goes, stick it in.
Mike Teague with the catch and drive. That's what England have been doing all season. Ackford to Hill. Hill to Moore. Moore to Winterbottom. Scotland's 22. Another lovely ball laid back like a chocolate bar from a slot machine. Out there to Guscott. Guscott with the kick. Has it gone too far? It would have been a nasty one if it had bounced in play, but he just put too much weight on it. But it's still down in deep in Scotland's half, as Will Carling and Jeremy Guscott have a little chat, and Ken Milne throws in. Hill again, England winning some useful ball. Hill carling out to everybody. Underwood, taken by Guscott. Guscott, half caught by Gavin Hastings on the 22. And Gavin Hastings going in there like a flanker to retrieve the ball. Maul had gone down, England with the put in. And the whole of Murrayfield is annoyed. They thought Scotland should have got the put in. But the referee is the sole judge of fact. And there, Gavin Hastings showing what a good back should do in that situation. Behave like a flanker, go in and tackle, and go in and try and win the ball back. So Jeremy Guscott hurt. And what a season this young fella's had since he scored 3 tries in his opening game against the Romanians in Bucharest. It was a very good English mismove. Underwood there feeding out. If that pass had gone in front of Hodgkinson, he would have been away. As it was, Guscott retrieved it. Half cut inside Gavin Hastings. Hodgkinson took out Scott Hastings, and then there's where Gavin Hastings went in, and well, the Scots felt that he got a drive on and they should have had the put in. Well, he's had a bang there on the upper hip. Teague with the pick up and drive. Great tackle by Chalmers and by Turnbull. Hill couldn't get it away first of all, but it had gone forward and Scotland have the put in.
Good tactic by Mike Teague, because what he's doing, he's trying to commit the Scottish back row. He's trying to commit them to tackle, and also Craig Chalmers, and then hopefully give his inside backs a little bit more space.
Jeffrey to Armstrong, to Gavin Hastings. Well, the big fella has found his touches consistently today. The lad who's captained the Anglo-Scotch. He once captained the Scottish schools to a 13-11 victory over the England schools at Nuneaton in 1980. David Soul played in that match, and that was unusual for the Scottish schools to beat their English counterparts. Here, the big stuff today. Scotland's 10 metres line. Moore with a throw. Cronin gets a hold of Hill. That's his Bath clubmate. 2 Bath men in opposition there. Gary Armstrong burrows. England pulling the ball down there in the ruck. And it's a penalty to the Scots. And it'll be interesting to see if Gavin Hastings decides to have a pot at goal. It's a long, long way, of course, into the wind. Jeff Probyn got hurt there. Big fella born in East London, went to London Nautical School. Gavin Hastings has kicked away over to the far side. It could be an awkward one for Simon Halliday. But Derek Bevan made a notice there, and it's a 22 dropout. And Rob Andrew was going to take a quick one. It looked like the perfect kick. Rob Andrew has found a lot of space. Oh, and there's another magnificent kick. What a dropout. Rob Andrew saw that big space behind Tony Stanger, and that one long dropout has given England another superb attacking position.
It's when you think that in the space of 20 seconds the player's gone 75 yards right back into the Scottish 22. But really a little bit of lack of concentration there by the Scots. They should really have been watching the ball.
Teague couldn't hold that one. Chris Gray does. Referee playing advantage. Armstrong to Gavin Hastings. Well, he's done it once more. Simon Hodgkinson was beautifully positioned. And a little bit of booing, but nothing desperately serious there. They're on halfway again. Well, we're into the last quarter of the match. They played 23 minutes, 13-7, Scotland lead. Armstrong to Chalmers, Chalmers to Lenine, slightly high tackle from Rob Andrew, taken by Jeffrey. Jeffrey driving, Armstrong looking for the little space, he's found it, but he's found Hodgkinson as well. Good return by the Nottingham fullback. Now this is the lad he's scored now 42 points in this championship, and that's only 2 short of Dusty Hare's English record.
And from England's point of view, it looks as though Jeremy Guscott's carrying a real leg injury there from that knock, and he was certainly looking maybe come off the field.
Wade Dooley got through, gave it on to Ackford. David Soul burrowing for it, but a penalty. And so the tension mounting here at Murrayfield when you think that the Grand Slam, the Calcutta Cup, the Triple Crown, the Championship are all at stake. It's 13 points to 7 for Scotland, and Simon Hodgkinson here with the chance to cut it to just 3 points. Now, if he kicks this, he'll set a new record for England in a championship. Dusty Hare holds the record with 44 points scored in the 4 championship games of 1984. Hodgkinson here has 42, and this to put his name into the record books. Hodgkinson, oh, it looks pretty good, but it's wide. I thought he was going to drift it back in, but it's gone just wide, and Jeremy Guscott is leaving the field. So unfortunate for the 24-year-old who first played for Bath as a 7-year-old. And on now comes Mark Bailey, and Mark Bailey will be gaining his 7th cap for England, a vastly experienced player. He's 29, first capped against South Africa in 84. Scotland have restarted, Teague has driven. Probyn goes in for it. Of course, the referee has got to give his permission for the player to come on, the replacement.
I think what England will do now, they'll put Bailey onto the left wing, his normal position. Rory Underwood will go to the right, and Simon Holliday will take his normal position in the centre. So it does mean that they have players slotting into exactly the same places.
Hill, Andrew, Carling, Halliday, Hodgkinson, too far. There really was a chance to have got Bailey into the game right away there, Bill, wasn't there?
That's right, it probably felt that a little lack of confidence in a player coming on immediately, and it might have been a good idea just to give him a bit of a run at the ball at Tony Stanger.
So you can feel the tension mounting, the temperature getting higher all the time. A loud blast from David Bishop. He's just explaining to all the players that I think it may have been a matter of spacing. You see, if they keep to the spaces, the referee has a better chance of seeing any malpractice. Now, John Jeffrey has switched across, you'll notice, but England have cleverly turned the Scot. Jeffrey, however, to Armstrong, tackled there by Teague. Jeffrey almost pinched it, but England's forwards are beginning to win ball that Scotland have, and they're getting the put into the scrummage as well. Just once or twice when the Scots have taken the ball forward in this second half into the close quarter situation, England have managed to mine it, and that's a very important quality of ball to win. Hill with those marvellously quick hands. Andrew going for the little touch kick to the corner, and he's done it once more. Beautiful, deft little kick there by Andrew. There was nothing much on because the pass had gone behind him. And once again, he's picked his spot, he's seen the space, and he's laid the ball on a sixpence. Long throw to Cronin, taken by Soul. In goes Chris Gray to help Soul. Nicely out to Gavin Hastings from Armstrong. And another excellent kick. Yes, the feet were in touch when he caught the ball. If his feet had been in play and he'd caught it, it would have been all right.
We admired one of Rob Andrews' kicks, but I'll tell you what, Bill, that was even better, because into a strong wind he kept the ball low so that the wind didn't bother him. A great kick there by Hastings.
12 minutes of the match to go. Scotland 13, England 7. Ken Milne feeds Armstrong. Chalmers very high, but it's coming back. The Scots may have overrun it. Tukalo goes there. Across goes Scott Hastings. Scott Hastings into Gavin Hastings. Gavin Hastings with a kick on, and a brilliant bit of covering by Richard Hill. But great work by the Hastings brothers. who played together for the British Lions in Australia. Gavin Hastings there, and what a valuable bit of cover by Richard Hill. Long throw to Cronin, but the throw-in wasn't straight. So difficult to throw long in this gusty wind. It was such an awkward ball when Craig Chalmers hoisted it. You see, Scott Hastings had to turn and go backwards. But watch Gavin Hastings here. He saw his brother there and he came up like a train. And that was an awkward little kick. And England have won it and they've cleared it. Back down to Scotland's 22. The ebb and flow of this match, Bill, is making me feel tired. I don't know about you.
That's right, there's some very fit guys over there that... I think the one thing about modern international players is now that they're honed to fitness. They're far fitter than predecessors, guys that played in my day, and you see that the speed remains the same right from the first minute to the last.
Ken Milne throws. Gary Armstrong. Tony Stanger. Well, that was pretty good for a big wing three-quarter. Played centre for the Scottish schools 4 times. But it's still on the Scottish 22. So England too have gone back to their normal order at the lineouts. Paul Ackford at 2, Wade Dooley at 4, and it was meant for Wade Dooley, taken by Probyn. He's caught by Jeffrey. Hill, Andrew, Carling out there to Rory Underwood. Underwood brilliantly tackled by Scott Hastings. That was a try-saving tackle if ever there was one. Scott Hastings, who did such tremendous tackling work for the Scots against Wales at Cardiff. And once again there, Rory Underwood was escaping. And he was on his way to a 23rd try. He must have felt that he was through. But Hastings just got him, just watch it. It was lovely passing and Carling missing out the man. Underwood seemed away there, but a perfectly timed tackle forced the forward pass. So, Scott Hastings was beaten earlier on by Will Carling, but he certainly made up for it there. Armstrong, Gavin Hastings, left foot as secure as the right. The crowd are beginning to sing Flower of Scotland, but they may not have noticed that they've still got about 8 minutes of the match to go. It's 13 points to 7. Tries are 4 points now. And so a try and a conversion would put England level. Taken by Jeffrey, but interference at the line out. Penalty to England. And forward now comes Simon Hodgkinson. John Jeffrey there making the catch. He wasn't the one penalised, I don't think. And Simon Hodgkinson going to have a kick for goal.
Well, certainly this is a very crucial kick there from an England point of view, because I think they probably feel that this one goes over with 7 or 8 minutes to go. They're still in with a very good chance of winning. So the pressure's on him. You know, he's scored 42 points. He'll be quite happy to have forget about all those and just get 3 on this occasion.
So Simon Hodgkinson has missed a conversion and a penalty. Kicked 1 penalty in England there. You can see with their penalties just 3 points from them. And this, a vital kick. Now let's hope that he gets a bit of peace and quiet, just a bit of whistling. Hodgkinson then, he chipped it very nicely, but he's pulled it. He really tried to stroke that one because of the wind. Tried to keep it low. It wasn't far off, but it doesn't count, and Scotland stay ahead, 13 points to 7. And now we're going into the last 7 minutes of the match. The crowd here roaring at every little incident. Chalmers starts. Winterbottom tackled there by Turnbull. And the crowd, the Scots in the crowd anyway, clapping because the put in to the scrummage is going to Scotland. John Jeffrey is poised to pick up. I must say that the Scottish scrimmage has done pretty well today, because John Jeffrey isn't really shoving in that scrimmage. He's decided that the Scots can maybe hold.
I bet his second row wish he'd shove, actually.
That's the anguished cry of a previous lock forward. Jeffrey, down goes Hill, caught by Jeffrey. And this is when the limbs get a bit dire for all the tremendous fitness of those players nowadays. The fitness levels are much higher than ever before. But this has been a punishing game. The territorial advantage there in this second spell has gone all England's way. But Jeffrey trying to go up the side, no way through there. Finlay Calder feeds. Turnbull goes in.
Bad play by Scotland there. They would have been far better giving the ball straight back to Gavin Hastings to relieve the pressure, but they weren't going to run 75 yards and score a try from there, so they'd be far better giving to Hastings and clear, put it on.
England have taken it. Hill, Andrew, marvellous catch. Out there to Halliday, to Carling, to Underwood. This is a good one here to Hodgkinson. Hodgkinson to Bailey. Bailey tackled there by Stanger. Fed back from Winterbottom to Hill. Hill half caught there by Burnell and put down. Scotland's 22. England staging a tremendous effort to try and pull this out of the fire. Who would have believed that in this game to decide everything, the first in history then when two home countries have pitted their wits against each other for the Grand Slam, for everything. And Scotland leading 13 points to 7. England's back's poised, but Gary Armstrong has pinched it, taken by Calder. Finlay Calder going on. Tackled there by Ackford. Armstrong. A good little kick by Armstrong. And they'll be filling their glasses down in Jedburgh at that one, because what a match Gary Armstrong has had in all the unsavoury chores, not only in feeding his standoff, but in tackle, in getting kicks away through the eyes of needles. He's been superb. If you watch here, this is the line out on England's 10 metres line. A great take by Dooley. England may try and rumble it away here. Well, Teague has it now. Teague, the builder, very natural strength, and he's been thrown down by Cronin and Jeffrey. Scotland with a put in. They've about 3 minutes of the match to go, plus a bit of injury time. 13 points to 7 Scotland lead. They're on England's 10 metres line. They've won the scrimmage. Craig Chalmers, the kick charged down there by Skinner. Winterbottom tackled by Armstrong. Back goes Finlay Calder. Got to his feet so that he could play the ball. Armstrong to Chalmers. That's a monstrous kick. Hodgkinson beaten by the bounce. Hodgkinson thinking of running it, and he's decided to. Nicely out from Bailey to Underwood is away. Underwood half caught by Tukalo and by Soul. Burnell is there. And a magnificent bit of running by Paul Burnell, the Scottish tight head, prop forward there, because he got right across the field into the danger area. So did Chris Gray. But
that's been a real feature of the Scottish play this season and for the last few years, that they shut people down in defence. They're a hard side to score against, and England haven't been allowed the freedom that they've had in their previous matches this afternoon.
Hill goes, the switch inside to Underwood. Underwood half caught by Jeffrey. Hill, Andrew, Carling, there's a loop on here. Carling half tackle. Carling again, feeding on to Andrew. There's a chance here. Hodgkinson out to Bailey. Bailey inside, chased by Stanger. Stanger with the tackle. And this is magnificent play by England. They're turning every screw to try and pull this game back out of the fire. But the 21-year-old made the crucial tackle there. Andrew had gone in the loop, but it was Will Carling getting out of Lineen's tackle that did it. Andrew again, and that lovely improvised pass. And see how Bailey came inside Gavin Hastings, but Stanger had him all the way. Cronin going down. And Damien Cronin and Richard Hill will have a lovely chat about this after the game, because the big fella's been through on his Bath scrum half several times. We've about a minute to go on Scotland's 22. Hill, Rob Andrew, carling again. That's to Hodgkinson. Underwood, caught by Tukalo. Underwood lays it down. Lovely pick up there by Winterbottom, the ever-present. Scotland may have won it. It should be a penalty to the Scots for offside. Paul Rendell saying, "You mean it was me?" There's the 56-year-old, one of the most popular forwards in the business. But it is a penalty to the Scots. And they're in no hurry to take it. I make it that we've almost played full time as Gavin Hastings sends it spiralling away up into the east stand. And what a performance this big fella's given with his touch kicking today. But just inside Scottish territory, everybody roaring here at Murrayfield. The Grand Slam at stake, the Triple Crown at stake, the Championship at stake. Probin goes through. England's forwards trying to turn the screw, but the Scots spoiling and harassing. England with the put into the scrimmage. A lot of people whistling, but of course there has been a bit of injury time. Remember that the unfortunate Jeremy Guscott was hurt. And so that's the situation here at Murrayfield, with all this to play for, this historic occasion. Andrew to Carling, Underwood, half through. Underwood, Stanger got a hand to it, but a penalty for a deliberate knock-on. And Hill screaming for the ball, he wants to get on with it. Hill tells them what the signal is. Hill onto Rendell. Rendell, Dooley trying to take it. In goes Finlay Calder to try and win it. And Michael Gordon-Skinner, number 6, battered in there. There he is, born in Newcastle. Went to the Walbottle School up in Throckley in Northumberland. Played for Blackheath before joining Harlequins.
I think Scotland were lucky not to get away with a penalty there, because in the rolling maul they collapsed it, they dragged it down into the penalty offence now.
I make it we've played a minute of injury time. As Teague picks up to Winterbottom to Hill. Hill going. Hill, tackled by Turnbull, on there to Skinner. Skinner feeding on. They're within 10 metres of Scotland's line. And Richard Hill showing there that electrifying pace of his. He has made such a difference to this English back division with his very quick hands, but there, with his speed off the mark and his feel for the space, they're about 8 metres out from Scotland's line. England's scrimmage is a solid one. Scrimmage has gone in, they'll have to do it again. Referee looks at his watch, it'll tell him they've played over 2 minutes of injury time. 13 points to 7, Scotland lead. The Grand Slam on offer to each side. Scotland penalised for going down. Richard Hill ready to take it, but of course he's got to be sure that his players are onside. Rob Andrew with a tap onto Rendell. Rendell to Dooley, but the Scots have driven it. Now Ackford has it. Probin held. Probin trying to rip it clear, but Finlay Calder trying to hold his arm down so he can't get it clear. Now Hill has it. Out to Andrew. Andrew there to Carling. Carling beautifully tackled by Jeffrey. Taken on by Bailey. Bailey on to Teagan Winterbottom. The referee's whistle goes for the end of the game. And Scotland have won a famous victory. One of the unique occasions in rugby union football. And Scotland have won by 13 points to 7. And the scenes of euphoria here, well, just look at them.